Hi, welcome to MathomBooks. My name is Jeremy. Today, we're talking about Star Wars Bloodlines. It's by Claudia Gray, and I read the audiobook version, which is narrated by January Lavoie. This book takes place, they say, in the years prior to The Force Awakens. It appears to be approximately, I'd say, about 25 years after Return of the Jedi, maybe even getting closer to like 30 years after Return of the Jedi. And so the events that took place then, with the destruction of the second Death Star, Luke defeating Darth Vader, and the destruction of the Empire, etc., that's kind of old history now. At this point, when this book begins, Bloodlines, that stuff is a part of the distant past. It's a novel about Princess Leia. So you might be thinking to yourself, cool, that means we're going to get some Han Solo action in here too. It disappoints on that level. Han Solo in this novel is almost completely out of the picture. But my real disappointment with that is the reason he's out of the picture is because he's off running he's like a director of some big race thing. There are these races, like spaceship races that take place. You almost get the feeling like a NASCAR, like some sort of NASCAR thing, but for starships. And it's kind of like, come on, he could be doing something more important than that. Is that really what he's up to? He's the director of some racing organization, and that's what's so important? His wife's getting involved in all this life-threatening stuff, and he's out there, chairman of the races. And so, to me, one that was silly. Two, when you have the opportunity, or shall we say the obligation, to have Han Solo out of the picture because you want to focus on Leia, you can have Han doing very important things. And I'll give you one example. The book even talks about, there's an element of this book where there's this crime organization that's been, in a sense, pirating materials, money, etc., right, to fund their organization. And the Senate talks about their need for brave pilots to go and, in a sense, fight these pirates, right, to keep the ship safe, the free ship safe so that commerce can continue to take place. What better thing for Han and Chewie to be doing but to be out there, defending the universe, or defending the New Republic at least, against these crime organizations? That seems like it would be a much more, interesting, exciting, and meaningful endeavor for Han Solo to be doing. But no, he's running these races. On top of that, Chewie's not even with them. In this book, she says Chewie's basically like hanging out, relaxing on Kashyyyk, his home planet. He's just like in retirement or something. Come on, this is Chewbacca. He's leaving Han to go run these races, and we always love the idea that Chewie helps protect Leia when Han's not around. But Chewie's not even doing that. Again, Leia's put into these life-threatening, dangerous moments, and you got Chewie back in Kashyyyk, chewing on some leaves or figs or something. It just doesn't make any sense. What's great about this book is you do get some very solid backstory that does inform and increase your knowledge of the film The Force Awakens. You are seeing a world that doesn't have the First Order yet, and a political system where Princess Leia is part of the Senate, It's this new republic, but this new republic is broken into two very divergent factions. One being the centrists, who want one centralized power, and then the others are called the populists, and they are wanting more. Every planet is kind of independent and has their own, decision-making power, etc. Less centralized. You can imagine the centrists kind of liked the Empire. They might not have liked Emperor Palpatine or Darth Vader, but they liked that there was one power, one decision-making body, etc. Now, as I describe this, you might be saying to yourself, that has a lot of connections to modern-day America. You could even say our own political world is currently facing that, right? We're very, Democrats and Republicans, very separate. It's, one body of people separated into two camps. And I think you're probably right about that. I think there are some connections. Are these healthy connections? Are they necessary connections? Is the book better because of that? I don't know. In some ways it's overly simplistic. Again, I'd rather there be just a whole unique system itself, an otherworldly system, because it's Star Wars. But that being said, the story does have a lot of coherence to it. It makes a lot of sense. You see Leia as being a very decisive, strong character who does a lot of great things. She's I really liked Princess Leia in this. I appreciated her kind of supporting cast. Thought they were well written. And I feel like I do have a slightly better grasp on the formation of the First Order and a better appreciation for The Force Awakens in terms of the world that we see in the beginning moments of that film. Now, were there any shortcomings? Yes, but not shortcomings in the sense that you might be thinking. There were some elements that I wanted there to be some answers. You might be thinking, hey, if I read this novel, am I going to get answers as to Rey's ancestry? Are we going to find out who Rey's father is? No, you're not. Are you going to find out just how it is that Ben Solo became Kylo Ren? No. Imagine they're saving all this stuff for other books, right? I would have loved to have seen some hints, some coloring, something, right? Maybe even subtly to those events. I didn't find any of that in this novel, and that was disappointing. I feel when you're doing backstory like this, this is for Star Wars fans. It's for people clearly who have seen The Force Awakens. You can throw out some nuggets out there. You can give some Easter eggs. I think we'd appreciate that. It would help the depth of the story. But instead, this book, if you will, is tightly focused on Princess Leia, her surrounding kind of cohort of her entourage, if you will. And that's it. We don't get much more than that. There was a lot that I liked about this book and a lot that I didn't like. This one I was really kind of going back and forth a lot. Let me just say that for starters, the book itself is well written, as far as Star Wars novels go. It definitely, tells a very fast-moving story. I was interested in the plot. I felt that there was good character development. Each character was kind of clearly, depicted in my mind. I liked some of the characters. I didn't like some of the other characters, as I think the author intended. And, overall, Claudia Gray, the author, is a solid author. I mean, I can tell, it was a well-composed book. that being said, there are certain elements, and I don't know. I'm one of the things I've always wanted to know, and maybe I'll find out someday, is what is the process when these authors are approached by Lucasfilm/Disney to write a next Star Wars novel. I'm really curious how much influence or how many guidelines they are given, because I'm noticing this in a number of Star Wars novels, newer ones, that they are doing this type of modernification, if you allow me to say that, of language, so that you have Star Wars characters, Princess Leia saying things like, "What the hell?" and "Damn, I'm good." Things like that, which to my mind, it doesn't fit with the Star Wars world. It's anachronistic. It doesn't seem to fit the time period. I felt that in the films and certainly older books, you have more of this fantasy-like world in where people talk differently. They talk a certain way. But in these novels, and this one is no different, they talk like, they're space travelers in 2016, to put it lightly. And I don't like that. Every time it happens, and it happens a lot, there's a lot, I know I'm not good at thinking of examples right off the top of my head, but it happens a lot in this book. Just kind of the casual way of speaking and using these modern, phrases take me out of the story whenever it happens, because I'm reminded, oh, wait a second, I'm reading a book here. I'm not really in the Star Wars world. And that's not good writing. To me, that is one of the, biggest sins an author can commit, is to remind the reader, hey, you're reading a book right now, this isn't real. And I don't like that, with this type of writing, at least. So that was a big one for me. Also, and along those lines, what I've noticed in more recent Star Wars, Lucasfilm, Disney books is that it panders very much to the, what is kind of the very popular, cultural, political correctness, of kind of, whatever you want to do is fine. And, we live in a world of, people who are defining themselves however they want to be defined, et cetera, et cetera. And, we can discuss that on one level, on the, the political level, the religious level, et cetera. But in a Star Wars novel, to me, it just sounds anachronistic. It sounds weird. It doesn't fit. It's like, oh, we're taking our modern American 2016 values and, political trends, socio-political trends, and we're putting them into the Star Wars universe, which was supposed to be a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. If that's the case, they wouldn't have these same types of issues. They, for example, the author, she refers to a couple of times at least, she says, for example, talking about this one cantina, you could go there, and depending on what species and gender you were attracted to, you could da-da-da-da. The idea of gender is very, 2016. It's very Western culture. And we think, oh, well, it's so great, and this is the way it's supposed to be, and this is the way it always has been, and is everywhere, et cetera, et cetera. No, this is a modern day socio-political movement, and whether you agree with it or not is not the point. But it's, what does it have to do with a galaxy, far, far away, way in the past? I don't know. I don't get it. It'd be like having a story about, Julius Caesar or Beowulf, and having them discuss, transgender issues. It doesn't fit. I'm sorry, but they weren't talking about that then. At least not with the same terminology and in the same ways that we talk about it now. And so, to me, it feels like Disney coming in and saying, you're going to make this everyone's accepted, we're a tolerant, universe now, etc. This kind of political ideology that, to me, has nothing to do with good science fiction, good fantasy, good storytelling. I'm not concerned about your views as an author, as a reader, etc. But you have to be true to the Star Wars universe. And these books that are doing this, the last one was Chuck Wendig's Aftermath series. It was really over the top. I was totally turned off by it. So it was a big issue for me, as you can tell. Another thing along those lines, and it's a mistake that other Star Wars novels have made, and that is they refer to things like, for example, one of the drinks that they drink is called calf, right? And you can imagine calf, well, guess what? It helps keep you awake. Caffeine, calf. And it's like, come on, guys. We can be a little bit more creative. They can have a drink that, has caffeine-like qualities or stimulates you, keeps you awake, whatever, and not call it caffeine. Because, again, caffeine is very modern day and very now, very Western culture, very, this world is what I'm trying to say. And I hope you guys hear what I'm saying. I'm not against Western culture. I'm not against Eastern culture. I'm not against Americanism. I'm not against modern day stuff. But the whole point of reading a Star Wars novel is to be in a different world. A world in a galaxy far, far away, right? A long time ago. And that's the point, when you read fiction, when you read fantasy, science fiction, you don't want to feel as if you're in your own same world. Overall, what did I rate this book? What did I give this book? On Audible, it gives you the opportunity to rate it really quick. I gave it 4 stars out of 5. Again, it was well written. I did enjoy it. I got through it very quickly. I found myself wanting to know more. I wasn't bored by the story at all. However, these downsides I've talked about. If I can give a note really quickly on the narration, as I said, I did the audiobook. January Lavoie, she's also narrated another book that I also really enjoyed, another Star Wars novel. And the name of it right now escapes me, so I apologize. I'll try to add it in here when I edit the video. But she narrated that story as well. That was by Tim Levin. I remember that much. The author of the book that I enjoyed, by Tim Levin. And it was a novel that took place, thousands and thousands of years before all the original Star Wars stuff. Because it was about the very, very first of the Jedi, and they were called the Jedi at the time. That was a good book. I really enjoyed it, and I hope that series continues. And I was really impressed by her narration. She did this narration as well for Bloodlines, and I enjoy her stuff. She's a good narrator. But I gotta say, and I've mentioned this many times before, January Lavoie is no Mark Thompson, unfortunately. Mark Thompson, as any of you guys know who have done a Star Wars audiobook with his narration, the guy is amazing. He's absolutely a tremendous talent. He does the voices so well that when you hear, for example, Han Solo talking, it sounds like Han Solo. He just nails it. When he speaks like Princess Leia, he sounds like Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia. he sounds like Luke. He does C-3PO, you know, he does Yoda. He's a tremendous talent, and you get spoiled when he's the narrator, and you kind of get used to hearing it that way. And so to hear this narration when certain characters would talk, January LaVoy, you know, she did her best, and you know, they do a pretty good job of using sound effects and whatnot to kind of help her out. For example, C-3PO's voice, you know, they kind of make it sound like it's coming out of a droid. It's passable, but it's not stunning as when you hear Mark Thompson do it. So anyways, that's another shout out to Mark Thompson. If you get a chance, listen to a Mark Thompson narrated Star Wars novel. You'll be blown away by his he does a great Lando. When he does Lando, it's hilarious. Lando became like a total caricature character, but it's quite fun. He's always wheeling dealing, you know, the ladies' man, and Mark Thompson nails it. It's as if you're hearing Billy D. Williams. Anyways, so tell me your thoughts. What do you guys, you know, what do you think of these newer Star Wars novels in general? Did you like this novel in particular? Have you read it yet? Are you interested in reading it? Let's discuss it. Let's go from there. And I thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed this discussion by MathomBooks of Bloodlines by Claudia Gray. We're looking forward to more great backstory and hopefully eventually soon future story continuing the Star Wars saga. My name is Jeremy. Remember, find your voice.